After 10 years of producing tech house, I discovered an arrangement secret that cuts production time in half while making your track sound more cohesive and professional. And the problem is, most producers waste time adding random sounds to their tracks, hoping something sticks. So in this video, I'm going to share a formula that turns any bass line into a cohesive, professional arrangement. So let me play you a section of the track where I use this technique.
I want it, so I got it.
Let's listen to the bass line alone. It created a strong and solid foundation for the whole track. Every single element you heard in the full arrangement came directly from the bass line using the technique that I'm about to show you. And if you combine this with the block system, you will start producing and finishing tracks 2 to 4 times faster. And it will also help you to eliminate decision fatigue and creative blocks, guaranteed. The link to the training is going to be in the description. Make sure you check it out as it works as a whole system with this video. So why do most producers struggle with arrangement even when they have good sounds? It starts with a complete misunderstanding about what drives a tech house track. The first mistake that most music producers make is treating arrangement as a process of randomly adding sounds until it sounds full. And this makes your tracks sound weak and muddy. Think of music arrangement like cooking a meal. Amateur producers throw random ingredients into the pot hoping it tastes good. Professional producers follow a recipe where each ingredient complements the others and creates a balanced flavor from start to finish. Now let me show you what happens to your arrangement when you approach it without solid foundation and throw random sounds. Notice how disconnected each element sounds. It doesn't even feel like they belong to one track, even though I'm using very similar rhythms as my main bass line. Now compare this mess with the example I played you in the beginning. That's an arrangement built with a strong foundation. The solution isn't adding more sounds or effects, it's getting the foundation right from the beginning and let it guide every other choice. Recognize that your bass line isn't just one ingredient in your track, it's the foundation that sets the tone for the whole track. Instead of asking what sounds should I add next, ask what sounds could I add without competing with the bass. Analyze your bass line's melody and see which notes or patterns stand out the most. Remember how I taught you to break your bass lines into microphrases in the bass layering video? It wasn't just for layering. We can now use this to create a whole arrangement blueprint. So let me quickly break the microphrases down. If you listen to the bass line, you're gonna hear a few distinct phrases. So essentially we have 4. The first 2 could be the downbeat accents. So maybe like a lead or something could go here. This one, this is the call. And this is response, which will resolve the loop and make our bass line like loop and cycle very nicely. Now that you understand that the bass line is the main ingredient of your arrangement, let me show you how to extract full arrangement from any bass line. Instead of randomly adding sounds to the track, we'll use the bass foundation formula. It flips this process by using the bass line as an outline for the whole track. And if you combine this with the block system, you'll be able to arrange a full track within like an hour or 2. So just imagine how much more music you can finish. If you haven't checked the training, make sure you do. The link is in the description and it's totally free. The bass foundation formula has 3 main principles. Accent, identifying the strong notes in your bass. Call and response, when your bass speaks, let other elements answer. And energy building through layering, using your bass line as the foundation while adding layers at strategic points to create energy contrast in your arrangement. Let me show you what an accent could look like. So we have the lead layer and then we have another bass layer, and once we play them together, You can hear that it creates that impact on the downbeat, which can be really powerful when you start a drop or when you transition from section to section. Really cool. Now let's talk about the call and response. So we have this phrase in the bass line. And what we can do here is use a lead sound. So we are creating that really nice dialogue between the instruments. And let me show you the energy building through layering. So this is a little intro section of the track. It's just the bass alone.
I want it. I want it. I want it.
So you can hear how much more energy and impact we can add to the track just by layering like 2-3 sounds on top of our bass line. Now let me show you exactly how to implement the bass foundation formula in your production. For accent, isolate your bass line and identify its natural accent points. Color code the accent notes in the door. Use the same accent points for your lead elements. It will glue all sounds together. So let's do the accent part. We have our bass line broken down into micro phrases. And by the way, if you haven't watched the layering video, make sure you do, because I got really in depth in how to do that. So we have the first note. I'm just gonna play the bass. So we can take the first note, just go like this. This is the bass layer, and it doesn't really matter what you layer here, right? So for the accent, it could be here. And here we have the offbeat accent. So it doesn't have to necessarily land on the same note as the bass. We can be pretty creative with that. Pretty cool, right? And then the same thing. This is another accent that we could use here. So you can see it's a blue one. And just add a little bit of bounce, especially with the drums. Very subtle, but it adds so much ear candy and just makes it a little bit deeper. So let's go again, just from the beginning with all the layers. For call and response, listen for patterns in your bass line that could be answered. Create complementary elements that respond to these patterns using similar rhythms but different sounds. Place these response elements in the spaces after you bass calls to create musical conversation. Let's now work with the call and response. So as usual, we have the phrases. It is this one, and we can take the first one. So let's go with the bass line. Let's see here. And then we need to put another one here. All I'm doing is essentially I'm just copying the notes from the bass besides this note. So this is pretty cool. And then we have a little variation to this response, which loops the whole pattern or the melody at the end, and it cycles very nicely. It creates that cohesion. For energy building through layering, start with your main bassline loop as the foundation. Map out your arrangement sections for different energy levels, intro, breakdown, and so on. For low energy sections, keep fewer layers on top of your bass. For high energy sections, strategically add layers that enhance the bass foundation. Let's talk about energy building in a bit more details. So we have this section of the track. This is the intro, which I showed you. And let's just compare that to a different section where I included a bit more layers for variation. So we're going to compare the energy.
I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want it, so I got it.
This is fine. It's just the start of the track and it doesn't have to be very energetic. But now listen to this section when I add way more layers plus the vocal, and then another section where we have the new lead, which in this case saxophone kicking in.
I want it, so I got it. Got it. I got it. Got it. I got it. I got it. Got it. I got it. Got it. I got it. I want it, so I got it.
And then we can also add some drums. So it doesn't even have to be the synths that you add. Just be creative with what you add. Check out With the Rights.
So I got it.
Now that you understand each principle separately, let me show you how they all work together in a complete arrangement workflow. Okay, so you get the idea. Now let's look at the exact steps, how you can actually build a full arrangement from your baseline. So now I'm going to break down the whole track section by section, and we're gonna analyze how I go about layering, column response, and so on. So the track starts with the intro, and also see that we have the MIDI markers or the MIDI clips, which stand for different sections of the track, so I could visually see what is happening, so it's easier to arrange. So we start with the intro, and I want to grab the attention of my listeners by adding the vocal.
I want it, I want it, I want it, so I got it. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, hypnotic, hypnotic. She wants it, she wants it, hypnotic. She wants it, hypnotic.
So this is a straightforward, very minimal section as it's the start of the track. And on the dance floor, let's say when I'm gonna be DJing this track, I want people to feel the groove a little bit, so very minimal. Then we have drop plus vocal. So what I do here, I'm starting to add bass layers, drums, vocal, and just a little bit of the synths, so this phrase, the theme, one of the main themes.
I want it. I want it. I want it.
It's still pretty minimal, but we are upping the energy here a little bit. The next section is the full drop, where I have all the layers. So check it out and check the transition, how we go about that.
I want it, I want it, I want it, so I got it, got it.
So for example, this accent, it shows you that, okay, we are in the next section. And then this little guy here as well, check it out.
Got it, I got it, got it, I got it, got it, I got it, I got it, I want it, so I got it.
Here we are using the break or the micro pause strategically to give a little pattern interrupt and then go with the main theme of the track, the saxophone. And you can see the layering is very similar, but I am spacing it out and removing a little bit of the bass layers to give more space for the saxophone because I want it to be more upfront.
I want it, so I got it.
Also pay attention that I'm removing the vocal here to give the saxophone more space in the mix because I don't want the listener to be distracted and trying to figure out, oh, like we have the saxophone, then the vocal, then the layers. So you don't want to make it too complicated for the listener. Just have one theme and then cycle through the arrangement with different layers, give it a little bit of variation. So you don't even have to add a lot of sounds, just strategically position them on the timeline. For the breakdown, I introduced a new element, which is the arpeggio. It's a little bit psychedelic. I love this style, not gonna lie, check it out. So I'm not really using so much of the layering or column response, it's just one new element.
I want it, so I got it. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, hypnotic. I want it, I want it, I want it, so I got it.
This section is interesting. I have the super saw lead to give it a tech housey kind of vibe. And with the saxophone, it sounds pretty cool. And then after that, we have one more interesting part of the arrangement where I used a bit different melody here. It still follows the bass line quite a lot. I'm copying the notes, but we have this cool sound. Check the transition and check the vibe. So you can can see I'm removing all the bass layers, just keeping the vocal, and that's it, to again focus on the lead sound here. And then we have the cool down, breakdown, and the chord track repeats again. So this is pretty much the full arrangement process. The key takeaway is that I didn't have to invent new melodies or rhythms. Everything came from our bass line. And if you combine this with the bass layering technique that I taught you in the previous video, you'll have all the sounds ready to build the full arrangement. So let me show you how easy it is to use this on any bass line. Step 1, set the foundation. Create the main loop for the track, ideally 16 bars long. Make sure it has all the main sim sounds. Copy your main bass line, kick, and drums across your arrangement timeline, let's say 3 to 5 minutes. This will be a rough arrangement outline. You want to start a track with a solid foundation, so ideally it should be the main loop with some layers for the synths, vocals, basically like a full drop with all the elements, which sounds something like this. And then with the main theme. 16 bars is a perfect length. It's not too short, it's not too long, and all you have to do once you have a loop like this is just to spread it out across the whole outline of the arrangement that we're going to create in the next step, and just subtract the elements depending on the energy levels. Step 2, arrange for energy and flow. Mark out your desired arrangement section, intro, drop, break, and so on the timeline. Now, strategically use the elements you created earlier. Low energy sections use mainly the foundation, with maybe only 1 or 2 accent or response elements. Build-up sections gradually introduce more of the accent and response elements. For high energy sections, add all the layers for more power. The next step is going to be the arrangement outline. So you want to use MIDI markers so you visually can see what is happening, and when you know exactly where you have your drop, the break, the intro, you can start arranging. So first thing I would do is take the kick, the bass, and the drums and just copy paste it throughout the whole arrangement. You don't even need to add details, just as it is. You're gonna subtract the elements a little bit later. Once you have the kick and the bass, then you just see, okay, so this is the minimal drop, then I'm gonna remove the elements. This is the next section of the track. We have more elements and I'm increasing the energy. Breakdown is gonna be pretty chill, then we have the full drop and so on. So the most important thing is just follow the energy levels that you mapped and work strategically with the layers. This approach doesn't just improve your arrangements, it transforms your production, making things easier and removing all the guesswork. And once again, if you didn't grab the block system training, make sure you do, because it's gonna make the whole arrangement 10 times easier and faster as it works as a whole system with the tips that I taught you in this video. Conclusion: your baseline is the main ingredient for a cohesive arrangement. With these 3 principles, accent, cone response, and energy building, you can transform any baseline into a complete track. When elements directly connect to your bassline's rhythm and structure, they naturally work together instead of fighting each other. This approach eliminates arrangement writer's block and helps you finish tracks faster. Now that you understand how to create cohesive arrangements, the next challenge is mixing these elements to make it sound professional. In my next video here, I'm gonna show you my simple mixing approach that will make mixing 10 times easier and faster, so make sure you check it out here.